Hi everyone, welcome back to the Poppy Library. This is Knit Chat, which is a knitting podcast where I talk all about everything that I'm knitting, everything that I'm thinking about knitting, and then any knitting related things, including stained glass art, which are created from these two hands. So welcome back. I am so excited to share that I have completed my Perennial sweater by Norah Gaughan from the Worsted book from La Bien-Aimée. And it was definitely an adventure, and I can't wait to tell you about it. It's very exciting. We can just jump right into that. I have been knitting this sweater since, I feel like I've been knitting it for about 3 to 4 months now. Ever since the weather got warm here, which kind of starts in April-ish, May-ish. And it was definitely my first adventure into knitting flat, which knitting everything in pieces. That's how this sweater is constructed. So you start with the arms first, and then actually no, you start with the back, and then you knit the front, and then you knit the arms or the sleeves. And it was definitely an adventure in me trying to figure out gauge. I think my gauge swatch is right over there for this, and I got gauge, which is great. I've never really gotten exact gauge before, knitting back and forth. And if you watch my what is it called? Notes from a Knitter. I should memorize that. If you watch Notes from a Knitter, which is a separate series on this channel, I talk about how I found gauge, which is I started trying to knit the Norwegian purl, which is the problem. It solved all my problems in terms of knitting purls too loose. So that was definitely something I learned. The sweater construction was great. It was fun to learn. It definitely felt like it took a long time. Also, it was my first time just knitting back and forth instead of in the round. I usually like doing sweaters that have yokes and color work. It seems it was just definitely a different experience finishing one side and then another side and then the sleeves and then blocking everything, hoping that it all fits together well. A little bit of anxiety was going on there, but overall everything turned out very well, which I'm very happy with. I did make a few adjustments, as you can tell if you're familiar with this pattern. One of the, they weren't intentional, sort of intentional adjustments, but more of mistakes, but I'm trying not to say mistakes because everybody makes sweaters differently, and it was just a learning process for me. So one thing that I did, I don't know if you can notice, there should be 3, according to this pattern, there should be 3 of these right here, of these little cable designs, both on the right and left side. Don't know what this is a true knitter thing, but don't know what I was thinking at the time in terms of this will turn out perfect. But I wanted to extend the length of the body because I didn't want a crop kind of look. I wanted it to kind of just hang a little bit lower. And if you want to do that with this pattern, especially knitting flat, you have to do it with both sides. So if one side's going to be a certain length, the other side has to be the same length because then they won't match up properly. So I realized that probably right where I was breaking off for the second and final section of this cable work. And I realized, oh no, the front is going to be longer than the back and it's not going to match up. I put both sides up together and I was like, oh no, it's not going to match up at the bottom, and the shoulders would be off, and that's going to look weird. And I pinned everything and I tried it on and I thought, oh shit. So I just went with it. It doesn't have 3 cable repeats right here. So it's a little sad. I really do like what it looks like with the 3. However, it turned out the way it was supposed to. So I'm still happy with the overall sweater. Another thing that I had to do that was definitely a learning lesson was It was my first time doing this, so binding off for the shoulders and doing the shoulder shaping was new, and something happens when I read a pattern. Don't know really what it is, but something happens where I get a little impatient and I just kind of skip ahead, and then I skip a sentence that is very important. So I had to, the back goes first, and then you construct the front, and then you do the sleeves. I had to rip back. That sounds very aggressive, ripping. But I had to frog a little bit on the back area and re-knit that because the shoulder shaping was a little off. Once I did the front, I understood what the shoulder shaping was, and then I realized, I didn't do that in the back one, so I had to rip back a little bit, but it was very, it wasn't painful, it was very actually satisfying because, instead of ripping back like from here to here, it was just, this little section, but on the back, so it's very fast to fix, and it ended up working out great. And the only other thing that I have to say about this sweater construction, I was extremely nervous about doing the collar. I have one of my first big sweaters that I did. It was a Norah Gaughan sweater, and I believe it's called Willowwood, and it's in one of the pom-pom magazines that I have. And I just fell in love with it. It's on the cover. It's not on the cover, but it was in the book, and it was just stunning. And when I did that one, I picked up too many stitches, or I didn't pick up enough, or I'm not exactly sure what happened, and you can tell me if you're an experienced knitter, but the collar poked out and up in the back, kind of like this, and it never sat down on the shoulders right or on the neck right, and it makes me upset every time I wear it because it's such a pretty sweater, and then this sticks out and there's color work on it, and you can see the color work on the other side, and it really pisses me off. But it's a very good learning lesson to stare at. Maybe one day I'll go back and fix it. So I was nervous that, oh gosh, I'm going to pick up not enough stitches, or there's not going to be enough for me to pick for some reason, and there were just enough, and I started knitting this in the round on larger needles, and it turned out great. I was shocked, and I was very pleased. So it sits very, very flat on my neck, which is very pleasing to look at. I'm looking at myself in the camera, so that's why my eyes are not looking at the camera. And the ribbing was really great. The bind off was absolutely fabulous. It's very stretchy, but it's not gonna lose, I feel like, its shape if I wear it longer. Over time, it won't lose its shape. It'll still be a little stretchy. And overall, it's absolutely fantastic. It was great knit. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience to learn how to knit different parts of the sweater and then sew it together with the mattress stitch. I think that's the name of the stitch. Very pleased with how the sleeves are constructed, or how each item is pieced together. It blocked out really nicely. I like the way how it hugs my wrist here. One thing that I did notice as well, also a learning lesson, is that my gauge is tighter on the arms. So if I thought about it, I made a note about it, but looking back, because the front and the back are longer in terms of there's many more stitches on the needles, when there isn't a lot of stitches on the needles, like for the sleeves, let's say, for example, this is not to the pattern, but let's say 50 stitches on the needle for the sleeves versus 120 on the needles for the front and back. The smaller amount of stitches on the needle, I tend to knit tighter, even if it's not in the round. So even looking at it, I can just tell, like, this is a tighter gauge on the sleeves than it is on the body. But again, a learning lesson, just noted for the future, just, maybe do a half size up in a needle size next time when I knit a sweater with this kind of construction. But overall, I'm very pleased. It's very hard to get this color on camera without adjusting my white balance, and this camera does it automatically, but it's a beautiful color. It changes color in different types of lighting situations and everything. Oh, there's a hummingbird. No. But I just love it. I can't wait to wear it more in the wintertime. Right now, it's still quite humid. The temperature has gone down. I'm very appreciative, but it is very, very humid outside. So even though it's like 70 degrees, you sweat in about 10 minutes. And that's in the evenings. It gets, to 90 degrees, 98 degrees. Remember that band? It gets to 98 degrees every day. But overall, beautiful sweater. I love the shaping of it. It's just, it fits my body so well. It drapes really well. Would 10/10 recommend. I'm so excited to finally have a sweater I'm so pleased with. It fits it has the ease that I want, everything. I finally have achieved like a knitter's goal with this sweater, so I'm very happy with that. So I decided to, after knitting such a big project, it's probably really good time for me to go back to my faded socks, which is just a simple kind of like tube sock pattern. It's knit with Shirley Bryan yarns, faded sock yarn, where it automatically just fades from one color to another. This is what the ball looks like. I do have one that's already finished, so it'll fade to blue. It does have some pinks as well. They're very nice, luxurious socks. I knit one last year, and I wore those socks a lot, and I'm very excited for another pair. I do have another set of her sock yarn here that I will also be knitting. It's just, I don't think it's a faded sock at all, but these will be more like regular length socks, and then the toes will be white, or maybe the top will be white or something like that. But this is another one of her yarns as well. It's Winter is Coming, that's what it's called, which is great because House of Dragon starts today. Good timing. So I'm working on those socks in between another mindless knit, which I started, which is the Pearl Soho's half and half triangle wrap. I heard a lot of people in the knitting community say that this is a very great mindless knit if you like just knitting regular knit stitch back and forth. I will say yes, it's a great mindless knit if you are, very comfortable with the knit stitch and knitting without looking at your work. This is a great mindless knit. You can watch TV, you can listen to your audiobook, whatever, while you're knitting this. And I've gotten pretty far. I decided to go to the very large size because I love, in the winter time, I love having like big sweaters on, baggy stuff. I don't like anything really clinging to my skin too tightly. I do wear like loose dresses and, long socks and stuff like that. I like to layer. And this is a really good layer. And it can also be like kind of like a lap blanket, I feel, because I'm very small. And so anything that is a size large, meaning I'm small in terms of height. So this will definitely be like a blanket size, not an adult size kind of situation. But I picked up at this is how far I am, and it's going well. This relationship is going very well. I'm very happy with the yarn choice. This is the Kelborn Woolens line, their Perennial line, and the colorway is neon pink. And it's a warm neon pink. It's not a cool tone, and so it looks really nicely on my skin, which is very rare for neons. And the yarn is very, very soft, and it's very luscious. Let's see, I have the white version here too. It's it's 60% superwash merino, 25% seri alpaca, which is probably why it's extremely soft, and then a 15% nylon. The nylon really gives it kind of like that stretch, long-lasting kind of feel to it. And then the seri alpaca, I think, is what's making it so soft and really kind of luscious to knit with, which is great. Knitting with it has been very, very dreamy. It's a very great yarn. I have decided that I don't, when I knit a swatch, I wanted to check the two colors next to each other, so I was thinking like a white yarn next to that pink yarn. But this one seems a little too creamy to me. I'm glad I knit that. I was going to knit this color second. It was the color I wasn't sure about. So I think I'm going to switch up colors to, they have a very beautiful kind of blue that's like this tone. And I think that knitting the pink and the blue together will be really nice. They're definitely my kind of colors. I love that the two colors together, and also they're two colors that I wear as accent colors in my wardrobe. So I think I'm going to go with that instead of the white. That white yarn can be used for color work for another sweater in the future as like an accent color. So I will definitely be using that. No worries there, that will all get used. This is a very thin yarn. It is considered a fine yarn, so it's if you were to go into like Joann's or Michael's, it's a 1. It has a little yarn symbol and it says 1. So the way I got gauge is I put 2 strands together, and I bought double the amount of yarn. This yarn is pretty affordable. It's in the $20 range, so you get about 400 yards, over 400 yards for about $23 or something like that. So it still is expensive for something that you need over 1,000 yards with, but it can be affordable if you have a project where you don't have so much yardage that you need to use. So with that all being said, I definitely recommend this yarn. I bought it at my little yarn shop called Gauge Yarns. It was a gift, and meaning somebody bought it for me and I just said what I wanted, which is great. That's always fun. And all you do is just knit back and forth. If you have any questions on this shawl, it's a free pattern on Pearl Soho's website. So if you have any questions on how it's constructed, I believe Stress Knits did a tutorial where you can see her hands, working the stitches and showing you how to do the short rows, and kind of explains all the basic questions. So I'll leave a link to her channel. It's very helpful. I always love learning how people knit on YouTube. I'm a very visual learner, so I have to see someone's hands moving in order for me to mimic them. If somebody says like, oh, you're gonna knit through the fronts of the stitch and like that, I don't learn that way. My brain doesn't compute what's happening. It really doesn't. School was really fun for me, I will say. I did make it out with great grades, but it definitely was a little bit stressful because of that. And so yeah, I would highly suggest checking out that video if you want to try the half and half shawl. There are tons of people that have knit this shawl before. If you go onto Ravelry, Instagram, the Making app, which is a great app, you can see other people's projects and the colors they chose, the yarns they chose, and it'll help guide you to make those choices for yourself. So yeah, it's going great. I feel like it's going to be a knit where I can pick it up, put it down, because all it is just short rows and knitting back and forth. And the short rows are not hard. It's not as scary as it sounds. It's definitely something mindless. It also will teach you how to do short rows and be more familiar with them, different ways of doing them, and just help you remember how to do that stitch, which can seem a little intimidating sometimes. So very excited for this project and excited to get that new yarn as well. Since we last talked, I also have a new acquisition that I made, other than this yarn. I went to the other little yarn shop in Austin here, and it's called Hill Country Weavers, which is quite the institution here in this city. It's been around for about 40 years, I believe. I don't want to age it, but at the same time, I think it's been around for 40 years. And I saw this yarn, it's Life in the Long Grass. It was just sitting there, and the color caught my eye, and I thought, oh, that would look really nice in a hat, something small, maybe some gloves, or in a sock. Probably not a sock. I would get these dirty really fast, but It's Life in the Long Grass. It's their it's the zebra sock, so maybe it's made for socks. But it is really beautiful, little kind of speckles for these, and it has the black and white twisted yarn in there, and it is so pretty. It's very soft. The make of this is, I don't think it says. Oh, yes it does. It's 100% superwash Highland Merino, so it's extremely soft. I can't wait to wind it up and see what it looks like in a cake, and then also just knit with it. Maybe I will knit some socks. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll use it for a hat. I don't know. But it's so soft, and I just really fell in love with, I have these like yellow golden specks in there right around here, and this beautiful kind of red tone, or pinkish reddish tone that kind of looks like this. I know my colors. I know the colors that I'm attracted to, and this is definitely one of them. So I'm very excited about this one. I don't think I got anything else. Definitely working through everything. I have some projects planned for this section of my yarn acquisitions. So I will be knitting things with leftovers, knitting of what I have. I will be knitting a new sweater, which is still in the worsted book. That is all coming along. For now, I just needed something simple that I just knit back and forth and I don't have to think. So we all have those moments. So moving on to the stained glass section, I did create a new knit themed stained glass piece, which is inspired by the knit stitch and inspired by one of the sweaters or kind of tees that I made. It was a sorrel top by Woolen Pine Designs. I think it was 2 years ago when I knit that, and I really love that top, and the blue is just my kind of blue, and so I wanted to make a stained glass piece based on a knit stitch with that coloring in mind. Kind of the design turned upside down as well. So let me go grab that really quick. Okay, so here is the piece. It's quite big. I believe it's like 17 inches tall by 10 inches to 12 inches wide. I do have hooks on this one so I can hang it with the chain. I love it. It took a long time to develop this one because the way that pieces have to be cut and must be angled so that the glass doesn't break mid-cut. Took a lot of trial and error with this one, but overall I think it turned out really nice. It's a very nice see-through glass. Really, it makes it a versatile design in the sense that I can choose any kind of glass with this pattern and it will work with the overall construction and the solidness of this piece. So I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I used black patina on this, which kind of comes out a little gunmetal-y because I went back and I did some extra, it's not sanding, but I go back with steel wool and then I patina it again to get the color really, really in there. So very happy with this. So this is the knit stitch. I was kind of thinking of maybe doing a larger one where there's 3 and 3, so it looks a little bit like a swatch. Wouldn't that be cute? Yeah, this will be available for pre-order along with the sweater stained glass piece, which I have here too. This is the sweater one. So this one is also going to be available for pre-order with different colors, and all of that will be available on my website in September, which is coming up, and you should have those by October as well. There will be limited numbers because a girl only has so much time. Truly. A girl only has so much time. I'll also be doing an art show. I'm part of the Austin Studio Tour, which is a great event that happens in Austin every fall, every November. And it celebrates artists in their homes, both on the east side and west side of town. So town, like it's small. Well, it's kind of small. So that happens every year. I was so excited to be a part of it last year, and I'm a part of it again this year. And what it is essentially is a go at your own pace kind of walking tour of artists in Austin, and they open up their studios, and you get to see how they work and all of their art in their own spaces, and you can have one-on-one time with them. You can purchase their art, all of that stuff. So I will be doing that the first weekend and second weekend of November here in Austin. So my business with stained glass is called Filter and Beam. So if you see the Filter and Beam and you're local, please feel free to stop by. I'm excited to see you. And yeah, I will be taking commissions at that time as well. I did some last year, and I'm excited to meet everyone again. And I will have some holiday things up and these things up in person as well. So that will be my November. It's all happening very fast, and then I'm doing the Woolen Folk in October, and wow, it's already time. And I'm excited because cooler weather, fall, winter, it's my jam. Spring is my jam. Summer, not so much my jam, but I appreciate it. I understand why it's here. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to chat about other than maybe what I want to knit next. I know I want to do a colorwork sweater, maybe a striped sweater, definitely one with a yoke construction. I want to go top down instead of pieces this time. So that'll be coming up soon. I'm still debating on which one I want to knit. So we'll get there. We'll get there. If you have any interest in any of these stained glass pieces or any ideas in terms of knit theme, feel free to share them below. I'm always open to ideas and doing custom commissions. And yeah, it's been really great doing knitting and stained glass, two of my favorite things in the entire world, and combining them together. It's like, wow. But other than that, that's all I have. And thank you so much for sitting down with me and listening to me just rant about all of my knits. It's really fun for me, and I love talking to people about knitting and everything. And so, yeah, if you like this, if you could like this video, it helps me get in front of more people. Follow me on Instagram at the Poppy Library. Also, I'm on the Making app as the Poppy Library as well, which is a very great app for makers out there. It's what Instagram used to be, but better. And it's definitely made for a community of makers, and I would highly recommend it. It's just an amazing supportive community for artists of any kind, knitting as well, but everyone is just so lovely there. I can't recommend it enough. If you're frustrated with Instagram and all the videos and all the loud noises and what it's become, go to the Making app. You're gonna love it. They're not paying me to say this. It's great. 10/10 recommend. That's all. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, I will see you later. Bye. Thank you.